go grab the template, please.
I just want to verify that it goes down. Right now we're getting started with our 6x6 diagonal bracing. We're cutting these 6x6s at 45 degrees. We're cutting the longer ones here, which are gonna be on either open end of the pergola. Roll it over this way. And they're gonna nest up into the double set of rafters. This particular circular saw has a 10¼ inch blade. This will allow me to cut through the 6x6 material in 2 passes. Not everybody has a saw like this, so consider trying to borrow or rent one if you're interested in using it. So I'm taking this first long brace that I've cut, and I'm gonna put it on top of the offcut of the original 6x6 material. This is essentially gonna become my new template. I'm taking my original pattern template brace and I'm just laying it out and marking it on the other side of my stock here. This cuts a little bit off because maybe this timber didn't come perfectly square from the mill. We did our best to lay out our cuts. We will be able to bury this up in the beams, but thankfully the other end of this brace is nice and clean, and that's the one that you're gonna end up seeing. The final detail on these 2 braces is just to knock this point off. We're just gonna take about a 1/2 inch. It'll serve a couple purposes. Number 1, it'll nest nicely on our temporary cleat. And 2, it'll give us a little bit of a visual interest, just like our rafters have the tails knocked off. That's the detail we're talking about. When it comes to the smaller angle bracers, there's not really anything different about them. They're just shorter. And just like with the rest of our open end grain, we are gonna wanna seal this up with some wax. One more thing I'm gonna do to tune these up is just break the edge with an 1/8 inch roundover bit, just like we did on those vertical posts. We had to move this temporary brace because our permanent diagonal 6x6 brace is gonna go right in that location. I think the next step is to make those 18-inch marks. So I'm just making a mark at the bottom of where that diagonal brace is gonna come in and land on that post. And then I'm gonna put a temporary cleating block at this location so that our 6x6 has something just to temporarily rest on. And I'm gonna do that on the remaining posts. Yeah. When I had one of these 6x6 braces temporarily resting on a cleat, I took a look to see what type of projection and embedment I was gonna have on this 5.5 inch fastener. And I determined that I wanted to go 2 inches up into our work from that point, and then make a mark 1.25 inches in from each side, make a slight recess to accept the head of the screw, and that would be pre-drilled, ready to get installed. Can you put a hand on that? Okay, give it a big push. This was a little bit snug, and you see we've got a little bit of this chatter from the mill. So what Tani's done is he's taken a clamp, spread this open to get a little more breathing room so this more easily slides up to where we want it. Okay, so I'm gonna hold it here.
Yep.
Can you pull out the spreader clamp?
Yep.
Now we're using the clamp to close the beam and capture this 6x6 in place. Yes, nice and tight. Good. Okay, so I'm gonna drive these next. We're using these Simpson Outdoor Accents coated 5.5-inch structural wood screws. We want to get a nice, good, deep embedment in the 6x6 post. And recessing the heads on these structural wood screws, it leaves a nice, clean look. Now we can go ahead and remove this cleat. The next thing I need to do is lay out our fasteners. So what I'd like to do is find the center point of where this 6x6 beam meets this 2x12 rafter. Drawing a faint line here that I'm going to transfer up onto the 2x12. Now I'm going to take my big speed square, laying out on the 45 line, because this is on a 45. I'm going to draw a couple faint lines here. I'm going to measure up 2¼ inches where we cross that diagonal line. And similarly, I'm going to measure down 2¼ inches where we cross this line and make another mark. That's where our hardware is going to go. These are the decorative washers, part of that Simpson Outdoor Accents line. And these combined with the structural screw and hex head washers give a look that is supposed to replicate a through bolt or a carriage bolt. Tani, just make sure you don't lean on it. All right, you ready? All right, lay it flat. We temporarily removed this end rafter so that we would have easier access for fastening our last bits of hardware into this connection. We could have used a right angle drill or drill attachment, but I don't have one. So it was easy enough to remove our hardware, gain access to the workspace, and then put the hardware back onto our work. Once that's complete, we can remove all of our temporary bracing and work up on top of the rafters, installing our lattice strapping. So satisfying when all the bracing comes off.